Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a topic that's, well, it's rapidly moving from a niche interest to something really mainstream. Preparedness and self-sufficiency, especially, in these uncertain times. And at its core, and this is our focus for this deep dive, is reliable, independent power generation.
Right.
Our whole conversation today, it's based on this incredible guide that's really making waves. The ultimate guide to energy independence for preppers.
Yeah, it's a solid piece of work. And our mission for you today really is simple. We want to pull out the most potent nuggets of knowledge from that guide.
Okay.
We're here to help you understand not just the very real vulnerabilities of our modern infrastructure, but maybe more importantly, show you how these innovative solutions are letting people secure their own power.
Like a shortcut.
Exactly. Consider this your fast track to being genuinely well-informed on, well, a vital topic, without wading through hundreds of pages yourself.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Energy security, it feels like it's shot right to the top of the list for so many people, way beyond, the traditional prepper community.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners who track this stuff, what are the fundamental flaws? Why is our electrical grid so fragile? Why now?
Well, one thing the guide really hammers home is just how much our grid, it's huge, right? But it's struggling. It's not just old, it's architecturally kind of outdated.
Built for a different time.
Exactly. Built for a different century, running on razor-thin margins sometimes. It just wasn't designed for today's demands, let alone tomorrow's threats. Think about Texas. That winter storm in 2021, that wasn't just bad weather. It showed how everything's connected. Gas supply, generation, transmission, it all cascaded. Millions left freezing in the dark.
Yeah, I remember that vividly.
Or California, the rolling blackouts during fire season. That's not just an accident, it's a planned response because the grid can't handle the load or the climate risks. And Puerto Rico. Nearly a year to get the grid back after Hurricane Maria. That wasn't just the storm. It showed how fragile centralized power is against extreme events. These aren't really anomalies anymore. The guide suggests this is kind of the new normal, the playbook for future disruptions.
That paints a really stark picture. Systemic fragility, like you said. So, okay, for people already thinking about preparedness, the immediate stuff like food spoiling or losing comms, that's known.
Sure.
But what about those second and third order effects the guide talks about, the ones that are maybe less obvious but crucial for real resilience?
Yeah, and this is a key point. We all get the immediate hassle, right? Fridge goes out. But the guide digs into the more insidious impacts.
Okay.
Beyond food spoilage, think bigger. Medical supply chains start to break down if refrigeration or transport fails. Water treatment plants, they stop. Suddenly, a power outage is a public health crisis.
Didn't think about water treatment.
Wow. Yeah. And financial systems. ATMs dark, credit cards down, your digital money is useless. Cell towers, they usually only have 4 to 8 hours of battery. Then silence. But the most critical thing the guide emphasizes is the immediate life-threatening impact for people with medical needs. CPAP machines, oxygen concentrators, insulin that needs refrigeration.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they all need power. Without it, an outage isn't just inconvenient. It's a direct threat to life for those people.
Okay, so beyond the emergencies, the guide also mentions economic drivers. Now, listeners might know about, say, time of use pricing, but does it get into deeper strategies?
Yeah.
You mentioned energy arbitrage. What's that about beyond just saving a few bucks?
Right, that's a really good point. It's not just about avoiding peak hours anymore. The guide talks about how these sophisticated home energy systems are actually using predictive algorithms.
Okay, like AI for your house.
Sort of, yeah. They look at your past usage, sure, but also weather forecasts, what the grid is likely to do, and they automatically figure out the best times to charge your batteries or discharge them. Ah, so it's proactive.
Exactly. Your home basically starts participating in balancing the grid. You can earn credits, avoid those peak charges.
Yeah.
It's way beyond just simple time shifting. It's like smart grid tech at the household level.
Turning your home into a mini utility?
Precisely.
Yep.
You generate power when it's cheap, maybe from your solar panels during the day, store it, and then use it or even sell it back when grid prices are high.
Okay, so the grid's fragile, the impacts are serious. What have people traditionally used for backup? Let's unpack the old solutions. Generators first.
Yeah, the gas generator. It's been the go-to, right, for decades. But the drawbacks are becoming really, really clear now.
Such as?
Well, the biggest one, the absolute Achilles heel, is fuel dependency. Think about it. Widespread emergency, gas stations often can't pump. no power.
Right.
Lines get crazy long, assuming there's even fuel to get. And storing lots of gasoline. It's a fire hazard, plus the fuel degrades over time.
I remember reading about people siphoning gas during crises. Exactly. Desperate measures, right? It shows how fast fuel becomes this critical, scarce resource. Then there's the noise. It's loud, not just annoying, but it basically advertises, hey, I have power, which might not be great in a crisis.
Security risks. Yeah.
And carbon monoxide. You have to run them outside with good ventilation, not always easy in a blizzard or hurricane. Plus, the guide stresses this, they need regular maintenance. And people often let that slide, so they fail right when they're needed most.
Right when you need it. So your generator becomes a very expensive paperweight.
Pretty much. Or your fancy SUV becomes a lawn ornament because you can't fuel it. Stark reminder.
Okay, what about solar panels? Everyone loves the idea of free sun power, but for real independence, what are the catches the guide points out?
Yeah, the free energy idea is appealing, definitely. But the huge caveat for prepping is that most home solar is grid-tied.
The meaning?
Meaning it's designed to shut down automatically when the grid goes down. It's a safety feature, for the utility workers fixing lines.
So it doesn't work when the power's out.
Exactly, which is completely backwards if you want self-sufficiency. To get true energy independence with solar, you need an off-grid system. And that means, primarily, big, expensive battery banks to store the power.
Because the sun isn't always shining.
Right. Weather dependency is a big one.
Yeah.
Less power on cloudy days, 0 at night, often less in winter. And getting a whole home system set up, you're often looking at like $15,000 to $50,000, maybe more. It's a hefty initial investment.
Okay, and that leads to batteries themselves. What are their challenges just as a standalone solution, maybe separate from solar?
Well, the older types, lead-acid batteries, they're chipper up front maybe, but they have short lifespans, need regular maintenance, and you can't use their full capacity. You're replacing them every, 3 to 5 years usually?
Not ideal.
Not really. Lithium batteries are much better, way longer life, more power, less maintenance, but they cost a lot more. Easily $10,000 to $20,000, maybe more, for a decent system that can run essentials for a few days. And they also have specific needs, like charging correctly and staying within certain temperatures. So there's a bit more complexity there, too.
Okay, now this is where the guide gets really interesting. It introduces something called the ultimate off-grid generator. Big claim.
Yeah, it is a bold name.
What makes this setup supposedly so different? Is it really a paradigm shift? Or just, a better version of what we just talked about?
I'd argue it really is a game changer. And the genius, according to the guide, is in the integrated intelligence.
Okay.
It's not just parts bolted together. It combines the best bits generation, solar, wind potential, battery storage into one system that manages itself. It's designed to be more than the sum of its parts.
How so?
It's about how it dynamically handles multiple power sources, anticipates your needs, optimizes everything automatically. This reduces the single points of failure you see in traditional setups. It offers a level of resilience that was tough for homeowners to get before, sort of self-healing energy, you could say. And crucially, the big shift is fuel independence. By focusing on renewable sun, wind sources that are always there, you ditch the fuel storage problems, the supply chain worries, the ongoing costs. That's the paradigm shift.
Okay, so what's in it? What are the key bits and pieces that make this integrated intelligence possible?
The guide breaks it down. You've got high-efficiency solar panels, obviously, often an option to add a small wind turbine grate for night or cloudy days, keeps power flowing in.
Redundancy.
Exactly. Then, advanced lithium battery storage is key for holding that power. And a smart inverter. This is crucial. It takes the raw DC power from panels or batteries and turns it into stable, clean AC power.
Clean power. Why does that matter?
Because sensitive electronics, computers, medical equipment, even some modern appliances can be damaged by the dirty power some cheap inverters or generators produce. This cleans it up.
Got it.
Then you've got built-in charge controllers managing everything, multiple outputs, regular plugs, USB, 12V for different devices, and a really big, plus the guide highlights expandability.
Meaning you can add more later.
Yeah, they're modular. You can add more panels, more batteries, maybe another power source later on as your needs change or your budget allows. It grows with you.
That sounds incredibly flexible, but, almost too good to be true after hearing about the limits of the older tech.
Yeah.
Are there hidden complexities, especially when you scale up?
Yeah.
And then, capacity and runtime. What can these things actually power?
That's fair. A common misconception might be thinking you need one giant battery. But the modularity is actually the strength that build it out in stages, gives you redundancy too.
Yeah.
If one battery module has an issue, the others keep working.
Oh, okay.
As for capacity, yeah, they scale. Smaller portable units, say 1,000 to 2,000 watt hours, surprisingly useful. Lights, charging phones, and laptops for days.
Okay.
Mid-range systems, maybe 3,000 to 5,000 watt hours, now you're talking essentials. Fridge, freezer, comms gear, maybe crucial medical devices running for quite a while.
Right.
And then large scale, 10,000 watt hours, plus you can start powering significant parts of a home, maybe even the whole thing, depending on your setup and usage.
And runtime. How does it compare to a generator?
Big difference. A generator burns fuel constantly, whether you're using a lot of power or just a little. These battery systems only discharge based on what you're actually using, so the runtime gets stretched out dramatically. A typical mid-range one might give you, say, 2,000 watts continuously, but handle surges up to 4,000 watts for things like a fridge motor starting up.
Okay, powerful stuff.
Yeah.
But my DIY skills are, let's say, basic.
Mm-hmm.
Is installing this complicated? Or is it something a prepared homeowner could realistically set up?
Great question. And thankfully, a lot of these newer systems are really designed for, well, plug-and-play simplicity, especially compared to getting grid-tied solar installed with permits and electricians.
So easier.
Often, yeah. Portable setups, usually no permits needed. Homeowners can often set them up with just basic tools, but placement is key for getting the most out of it.
Like where you put the panels.
Exactly. Solar panels ideally need to face south, assuming you're in the northern hemisphere angled roughly at your latitude.
Yeah.
And critically, you have to avoid shade. Even a little bit of shadow on one part of a panel can tank the output significantly.
Good tip. And the batteries.
They like stable temperatures, so a climate-controlled area is best if possible. Basement, insulated garage, maybe. Not freezing cold or baking hot. And accessible, you know? For more integrated setups, yeah, you might want an electrician to wire it into specific circuits or install an automatic transfer switch so it kicks in automatically when the grid goes down. Or even hybrid setups that work with the grid. Lots of options.
Okay, real-world applications. You mentioned Texas, hurricanes, wildfires.
Yeah.
Those anecdotes sound compelling. Is there a common thread in how people successfully use these in a crisis? What's the strategic lesson there?
Absolutely. The stories the guide shares, they reveal a clear strategy. It's about resilience through distributed, adaptable power. In Texas, those families weren't just keeping their own lights on. They became like neighborhood hubs, charging phones for neighbors, offering a warm place, keeping communication lines open when everything else failed.
Community aspect.
Yeah, and for hurricanes, the strategy is continuity. Fuel deliveries might stop, roads might be blocked for wits, but solar keeps generating. So essential services stay online much longer.
Not just a few days backup.
Right. And wildfire evacuations. Portable units mean immediate power for comms, lights, medical needs right there in shelters or temporary locations, enabling faster response, keeping families connected.
Right.
And beyond emergencies, the guide positions these as stepping stones, maybe towards full off-grid living. They make rural properties or cabins way more viable and independent, often more cost-effectively than running grid power out there. It's about genuine self-reliance, not just weathering and inconvenience.
Makes sense. So beyond emergencies, what about the day-to-day? Are there ongoing economic benefits even when the grid is working fine?
Oh yeah, definitely. Significant ones, potentially. Peak shaving is a big one the guide talks about.
Using battery power during expensive times.
Exactly. You charge the battery when electricity is cheap, maybe from your solar or off-peak grid rates, then use that stored power during peak hours when grid electricity costs the most. It's like buying low and selling high, but to yourself. Really cuts down monthly bills in places with time-of-use pricing.
Smart.
And net metering, if it's available in your area, that lets you sell excess solar power back to the utility. Your house actually generates income.
Nice bonus.
Plus, homes with solar generally sell for more. The guide mentions figures like 3–4% higher value. And fundamentally, the whole system acts as a hedge against rising energy costs. Gives you more financial stability and predictability.
Okay, let's talk lifespan and upkeep. Are these things you buy and then replace every few years like, I don't know, a smartphone? Or is it a longer-term investment? What about maintenance?
It's actually remarkable how low maintenance these systems are, especially compared to, say, a generator that needs constant fiddling. Yeah, solar panels, they just sit there, maybe clean them periodically, check connections, no moving parts. They often come with 25-year warranties.
Wow.
The lithium batteries, virtually zero regular maintenance needed. They're rated for thousands of charge cycles, like 5,000 to 10,000 cycles. That translates to a service life of maybe 15, even 20 years.
That's impressive.
And the inverters, the brain box. maybe 10, 15 years or more. And importantly, because they're modular, if one component eventually does fail years down the road, you often replace just that part, not the whole system.
Cheaper long term.
Much cheaper. And easier. Plus, you usually get apps or web dashboards to monitor everything, see how it's performing, get alerts if anything's wrong. Pretty straightforward.
All right, the big question, cost. What's the initial investment look like? Ballpark. And how does that compare to the returns, considering everything savings, backup value, lifespan?
Okay, costs definitely vary with size and features. Basic portable systems, maybe $1,000 to $3,000. Mid-range powering essentials could be $5,000 to $15,000. Whole home, you're looking at $20,000, maybe up to $50,000 or more.
That sounds like a lot up front for the bigger systems.
It is, but let's put it in perspective. A traditional whole home standby generator, that's often $10,000 to $20,000 installed. And then you have ongoing fuel costs, which are unpredictable, plus maintenance.
Right, the hidden costs.
Exactly. With the off-grid generator system, there are basically zero fuel costs, and the energy savings start from day one. The guide suggests most systems pay for themselves purely through those savings in, say, 5 to 10 years.
Okay, that changes the calculation.
And then there's the value that's hard to put a price on. What's the cost of losing all your food in the freezer? Or paying for a hotel during an extended outage? Or, God forbid, a medical issue because equipment failed? That value during an actual emergency can be immense, potentially outweighing the system cost in one go. Some insurance companies might even offer discounts. It's really an investment in control, security, peace of mind.
Okay, last thing, future-proofing. Is this tech that's going to be obsolete in 5 years? Or can you adapt and expand these systems as things change?
That's a really important consideration for a long-term investment like this. And it's actually a key strength, the guide points out.
How so?
Well, the whole renewable energy field is moving fast, right?
Right.
Better batteries, more efficient panels, smarter grid tech. Quality off-grid systems are specifically designed to be upgradable.
So you're not locked in?
Generally, no. You can often integrate newer battery types later, add more efficient panels, maybe even connect to things like vehicle-to-grid systems when that becomes more common, where your electric car battery can help power your house.
Interesting.
Plus, regulatory trends seem to be favoring more energy independence. Net metering rules evolve, tax incentives pop up, building codes sometimes encourage it, and that modularity we talked about is key for the future, too. Start with what you need now, add more panels, more batteries later. It adapts, makes them incredibly resilient, and yeah, pretty future-proof.
So this deep dive really highlights how something like the ultimate off-grid generator isn't just gear, it signifies a fundamental shift, right? Towards real energy independence, real resilience.
That's it.
It helps people whether there's an emergency or not, with the economic side and the security. But yeah, for anyone serious about preparedness, it seems like it's about moving beyond just surviving to actually thriving.
And that really is the core message from the guide, I think. The question maybe isn't, can I afford to invest in energy independence? It's becoming, can I afford not to? When the power does go out for everyone else, and it seems increasingly likely it will, more often you'll be the one who still has control, the power to thrive, not just scramble to survive. And that peace of mind, that control, that's a powerful thing to think about as you consider taking charge of your own energy future.